Hey guys, it's Will here again with another Rules Blunders review, talking about RPGs, books, core books here. Today we're talking about a new version, kind of linked to Tales of Equestria. So if you guys are not an MLP fan or, Hasbro brand fan, highly understand. You can skip the video. I have many other different reviews on my channel and different RPG reviews that you can feel like checking out, or check out my Twitch stream, which is in my banner above on my page. But if you're interested, not only is this just a My Little Pony book, they also do G.I. Joe. The ones that are really popular are Transformers and Power Rangers for their role-playing games. But they also make these as deck builders, which I find are actually pretty good. But the main reason why you'd want to check this video out is because this is using basically a preview version of 1D&D's core rules. So if you can stomach the pastel ponies, we're basically going to be looking at 1D&D. Here we have is the officially licensed, not officially licensed because, they made it. This is the Hasbro My Little Pony role-playing game. So for those who have played the My Little Pony Friendship is Role-Playing, the fan-created games, and have played Tales of Equestria, which is just a official ripoff of the last one, this is like a mix of both. This combines the simplicity of like the 3 dice system and with the complexity of spellcasting and combat from 5th edition / 1D&D. It does it in this nice hardcover. You have your back here, it kind of explains everything. Instead of using hand-drawn, created art for the game like Tales of Equestria did, or my Role-Playing is Magic, Hasbro did the modern day Hasbro thing where they just re-assetted content from the comics and from the show. A lot of it being come from the comics. This, I think, may be new art just for the cover, but the rest of the art in the book is basically reused. And we're going to flip through that right now and kind of word it as you guys see the pages. So here we go. We have the inside. We have again, that same sort of colorful look book. I would say this is just before D&D in the complexity scale, like D&D 5e. Definitely past Tales of Equestria and past GURPS, but in rules simplicity, but not as complex as 5th edition. Again, 1D&D, they're kind of aiming for that, so that would make sense. We have our table of contents, we have our introduction, sort of this. So how they kind of do these books, a lot of RPGs have been doing this lately, is they kind of making most of the parts when you're learning about the world, the game and stuff, it's kind of like a character from it talking to you. Shadowrun, it was other runners talking on a forum and you're reading that Reddit post. In this one, it's Pinkie Pie guiding you through the world of this book. Then of course, but unlike Shadowrun and other books where it kind of like you can see where it cuts out from the character talking to you about things, or even like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything or whatever it was called, Tasha's Cauldron, where you see blurbs of her talking. This doesn't do that, and near the middle of the book it kind of like goes into like you're actually reading a rule book, but you kind of are still reading it as Pinkie Pie's voice because it was been Pinkie Pie the whole like last 2 chapters. But anyways, looking at this, here we have sort of here's her blurb, her little intro. Then we have kind of like intro, and we have kind of like the dice, coin, D2 is a coin. Then we have what's in the book, kind of some art. I think this might be new art. So I guess there's some art. Essence score is basically, if you've played it, your Elements of Harmony is in here. Your defense, because combat's now back in this. It's not just a scuffle, it's actually, initiative and combat. Your origins, things just reworded. Your different races. Now they do acknowledge in here that Tales of Equestria and there's other races in the world that people want to play, and they actually have a guide how to kind of represent that as a player, so you can talk with your DM, but this book doesn't require the DM to be there to make them. Everything's kind of balanced with that in mind. but they do state things are coming out. And I did try to make a character with this without the character sheet, and that was kind of a big mistake. You do need a character sheet to make this because it kind of explains things and it fits better than just writing it on paper. And there is a kind of complexity to that, kind of like a Shadowrun where you're making traits. You're basically choosing traits. You're not, but it kind of also blends a class. It's got a really cool, interesting class system, but it's not really a class system. You'll see it later on. But they do come out and say we will be making new races. There's going to be source books for this. They don't push My Little Pony anymore like they do with Power Rangers and Transformers for these books for some reason, which is understandable. Those are more popular than this. But anyways, so you can make those. Like I made a zebra, but they do have the main 3 as your starting races in this core rule book. You know, unicorns, earth stuff. Though they do a cool thing with magic, and basically if you see my Tales of Equestria review, a bunch of this stuff's going to be very familiar to you. It's just more D&D. So when you make a character, you get 2 of these background things, and this is kind of like you're making there's like backgrounds, origins, and your race, and your backgrounds are kind of like your subclasses, like your feats and your skills. That's how you make like your skill list and your saves. Whereas your origin is your class, where you get your class and level up features. So it's kind of like you choose, do you want more combat stuff as you level up? Do you like want to take the level up chart of the fighter? Do you want to take the level up chart of a wizard? And then it's like, do you want that level up chart to go to your artificer? Do you want it to go to your wizard? And you get to choose 2 of these and kind of combine it. So you could say be an artisan and a futurist, which is basically if you combine the 2, and they kind of give a little blurb of what each one does, as you can kind of see here after I focus. As you can kind of see here, if I had it focused, but like as you can see here, like it kind of gives a little blurb, an example, stuff like that in the pictures, your background bonds, stuff like that, your tiles. But the idea is, say if you chose a futurist artisan, you could be, say, somebody who makes artifacts and you use electricity and stuff, maybe just to prove like, hey, you don't need magic. As to say, a perfect example is right beside it. If you chose the bookworm and artisan, maybe you're the reverse. Maybe you restore things, you study history of artifacts, and you use clockwork creations and stuff to help you with that, or keep things in check and help with your magic. So you can kind of like use this to help roleplay create your character if you don't know exactly what you want to do. So you flip here, stuff like that. Then you have again your roles. This is like the level up chart. So this is where you determine your sort of like racial passives, like class skills, your abilities, your where you get your health, when you get your health, when you get your spells and skills, your feats and stuff. And they're all pretty good. They're all pretty fun. So this is kind of like a broad spectrum that you kind of like all spirits of, say, honesty will get, but those backgrounds are where you pinpoint and make the class yours. So this will be like your level 1 ability as a rogue, you get backstab, but your background will be like, maybe you can create, like again with the bookworm, you are a investigator rogue, you know, stuff like that. It adds to your class to fill those huge, like in between every 3rd, 5th level, get a class feature abilities like you would in a normal D&D class. So like your level 3 ability, your level 2, like your level 2, level 3, level 4 would all be from your backgrounds, but then your level 1 and 5 would be from your origin. So as you can kind of see here, like that, there your stuff. This is just mumbo jumbo that you don't really need to know, but this is basically explains how you get features, how you level up those ability dice, how you get spells and stuff, new abilities like that. Explains that. There's gonna be a lot of editing on this video. And of course, Princess of Elements and stuff, you become princesses at like max level. Here's your kind of like your main things. So again, they kind of bring a 4th ability in, unlike Tales of Equestria where it had 3. they now have 4. And then of course 0 means you die, you know, get knocked out. You know, your basic skill checks, what sort of abilities you can do. If you get the DM's the DM screen, it'll have all the stuff in there for that. I have this marked because, and it comes with a pink little bookmark in it, which is nice, it's pretty, is it has this. So this is the major change to this system, this D&D based system, or Tales of Questia if you've played it. This is basically the exploding hoof technique, except for this is how all your spells and stuff are going to work. This is how they're simplifying it. So what this chart is a sort of, is the shift ladder. So say you're starting, you're trying to do a skill check, and your skill dice, basically your level, your proficiency, and it's D6. Now say somebody's giving you advantage, or you have a spell ability that says you get a shift. You then get to go up a dice. But if say you're getting disadvantages, say because of the environment or something, you'd shift down. And there's ways to auto fail and auto pass, as you can see here, like 2d8s and stuff. But you can never go basically do d20 and stuff anymore, which is good because like a 2d8 is better than a d20 any day anyways. So they've kind of fixed that, and of course your fumbles, and you can, with this system, manipulate abilities and help each other in such a way that you can either just critically succeed automatically or critically fail automatically. There is now, just like they wanted to push in 1D&D where crit like rolling nat 20s is a success no matter what, and the DM kind of like, you know, DM would have to override it. They're making that now an actual rule in the game. Though again, as always, I'll always say DM always has final say on any ruling, but this is basically trying to push that sort of, this is how it's going to be no matter what you sort of choose or say. You have to play with crits. Yeah, so yeah, here's your difficulties and stuff, and rolling dice, you know. Friendship points, friendship is back. So if you guys played, again, Tales of Questia, you'll know what that is. Here's your feats. Everyone gets feats. And you can, through this, make other species or give magic to other creatures that would not normally have magic, as long as you can explain why they have it, which is kind of cool. Doesn't force people to just have a party of unicorns because magic, or Pegasus because you want to fly. There's ways to manipulate your character in a story without being too broken in this system. And of course we have magic. They've definitely increased how magic works. It does some cool things now. There's like different sort of versions of magic. So there's like circles of magic, which is kind of like ritual casting. There's there's like circles of magic. There's elementary magic, superior, and virtuoso. So elementary is like your cantrips. You learn those in school and stuff. You can do some cool sort of lore based stuff with that to kind of make your characters cool. Maybe the DM can do stuff. You have your complex stuff, which requires you to, you know, it's gonna hurt you, or you have to bump your spell dice down, or have the scrolls. Then you have your virtuous, which is basically like your level 6, level 7 magic. So you got doing that, using spells, mastering spells. So you have to, and they kind of explain why you have scrolls now, and why you have to have spell books, is because spells, how it works in the My Little Pony universe, actually they go in deep dive, and we get to learn a little bit more about the magic here. It's more advanced, more memory, and more like feels and stuff. And you know, they're horses, so they can't really super feel that unless you're, you know, Twilight, which is this one. So you use these things, and you can through multiple uses, role playing, you can turn a virtuous or you know, the middle, you know, your level 4 spells into a cantrip basically. and other things like that. It has rules and role play for how you can create spells, make them easier to learn, and all that other stuff, which is kind of cool. And of course, your giant list of spells, which they will keep just increasing and increasing with new books. And of course, you can always kind of like use your Tales of Equestria books or your role-playing as magic books and convert them over easily. Of course, equipment, and again, the second biggest change to this versus Tales of Equestria is they've introduced how gear's kind of made. It almost is a Shadowrun-esque way how you get your gear now and your abilities and features, but you get weapons and stuff now with stats, and there's damage and health. And you can see here, as I'm kind of like, as I was staying with the whole like Shadowrun thing, you have your different, like, sort of where do you start, and this is like what an item is worth in the list. So if you're, say your players want to buy something you're not kind of around, you'd be like, well, this town only has routine items, and bam. Or maybe it's like, hey, yeah, because you saved somebody, you yourself can personally get challenging items and stuff like that. Of course, armor, tools, pets, houses and homes stuff, and then combat. So yeah, as you can see, there's stats for different heights and all that. Map scale, the different sort of stats, challenges, designing a challenge, scores, combat stuff. Basically, if you haven't played D&D, kind of explains how that works. Basically the same thing, you know, take your skill associated to your main stat, roll the dice, beat the number. And then of course, and this is where we're kind of talking about, like those shifting of dice. So say you're, you are, the thing you're hitting is, say, at large, and you are small. You get, your dice goes up by 1. So say if you're swinging with a sword with a d6 to hit, it goes up to a d8. Or if, you know, the opposite, the thing, you are large and the thing is tinier than you, it's going to be harder to hit stomp on, and vice versa. So you kind of get like some cool tactics and stuff, and like having the ability to make creatures large and stuff with spells comes into play. And then of course exploration, talk about like moving and stuff, rough terrain, more D&D stuff that you might not care about. And locations, and this is more for, again, the maps used again from Tales of Equestria. This is more for, again, say maybe you might not know too much about the world or you need a refresher. This gives you like some major locations, but again, if you have source books or the cool little like guidebooks from the show back in the day, you can use those too. And this is mostly DM stuff. And sort of like sample characters. Sakura, my girl, there she is. And then of course NPCs, enemies, monsters, and neutrals. Make your own evil wizard if you want to have one, your own Twilight, or your freaking Trixie. Making your own sort of like Alcorn, Nightmare Moon, using her in your campaign because they're a little bit more advanced. And then more DM stuff, how to actually be a DM. These are actually pretty good to read. I'd recommend them if it's your first time. And then the pre-made adventure, like every new book's starting to get nowadays, where they just have a pre-made adventure in it with, I saw you get back here, maps. So, and then here's our, unlike Tales of Equestria where I had to ask online about their names, they actually give us pre-made characters with names. And they're called the Renegade 6 because Renegade is the licensed company that makes this. So, yeah. And of course, the character sheets. With that, guys, this has been the My Little Pony role-playing official game from Hasbro and Renegade. Hopefully you guys liked it. It's different. It's interesting to see the 1D&D, how it's going to be kind of shifted, or how they were attempting to work with it. This kind of being like their 1 edition D&D, their GURPS edition of D&D. It's called Essence. I believe the system officially is called the D20 Essence or whatever from Hasbro. But kind of interesting. I'd probably recommend checking out more of the Transformers or the G.I. Joe book myself personally, but the Power Rangers one seems to be their flagship title, and they're pushing a lot more source books for that one, so I'd recommend checking out any of those other ones if this sort of idea piques your interest, but you're not into ponies. I know that can kind of be a thing. But yeah, thank you all for looking by. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If this wasn't your thing and you watched it anyways, or you're here and you kind of skipped through it, thank you for checking it out anyways. Definitely feel free to check out some of my other videos from this sort of series that I'll be doing later on. Yeah, you'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Click the video. Click it. Click the video. You know you want to.